heat wave, a tropical heat wave. Well, there hasn't been a Marilyn Monroe sighting that I know of, but there's a heat wave for sure, and it's not my most favorite thing, I'll have to admit. But thanks for joining me today. I have some ideas for you. I called Walter and I said, I want to make something easy and cool. And he said, besides me? And I said, yeah, I want to make something easy and cool besides you. And he said, well, how about a cold soup? And I said, perfect. He said, everybody likes asparagus. I said, you're right. So that's what I decided to make today. So if you'll come into the kitchen with me, we'll get started. Just want to do something nice and cool for the season. Thank you. Come with me. Whenever you're buying leeks, try to find one that is as long and white as possible. They bank them with soil to make them nice and tender and mild, and so if they're not banked high enough, you don't get much use out of them. So go ahead and trim off the dark green, and you can save the tender green. That'll work just fine. So you want to open the leek up, make a cut all the way through from end to end, and that makes it easy to then wash the leek well. So you've got to put it right down into cold water and get all the sand out. That's really important because leeks can be really sandy because of that banking that they do with the soil. So get the leeks clean. Now this particular leek, by the way, has a June surprise in it. Look at that. You'll really only see it in June. That is that solid core there is the flower stalk, and as I said, you normally only see those in June, so you don't usually have to worry about them. This one caught me by surprise because it hadn't really grown solid all the way up to the top so much. Then it's easy to see. So you have to remove that. You can use it for stock, of course, but not for your cooking. So we're going to slice that, about 1/4 inch or so, and then just get that into a bowl or something to set it aside so you can move on to the asparagus. Now I have about 1.5 pounds of asparagus here. These are fairly large ones, which is fine, doesn't really matter particularly for this recipe. The first thing you'll want to do is save some tips. Slice them off and save them for garnish if you want it. You might want to garnish this soup or something else with them, like my deviled eggs. So set those aside, and you can blanch them later if you're going to use them. And then the rest of your asparagus, you want to trim off just the very woody end, just 1/4 inch or so, the woodiest end there, and then slice up all of the asparagus, about 1/4 inch slices, something like that. So get that going, and then it'll be time to start the cooking, which only takes a few minutes, so you don't have to heat up your kitchen too much. We need a saucepan about 3 quarts or a little bigger than that. We need a little vegetable oil, a couple of tablespoons of vegetable oil, and we need a piece of butter, about a tablespoon or so of butter, just for a little bit of flavor. It's actually optional. So as soon as the butter has melted and the oil and butter mixture is hot enough for the butter to start to sizzle, then you want to add in the leeks. So cook those first. The leeks are going to take maybe 2 minutes or so. So go with those for about 2 minutes. And when they're nice and tender and translucent, then you can move along. Okay, about 2 minutes with the leeks, and then we'll stir the asparagus right in there. So give that a good stir until you get the asparagus all coated with the oil. Now you can let it cook for a few seconds. It'll bring out a little bit of flavor when the natural sugars hit the hot oil. And then we add most of the remaining ingredients. So we want to add about a quart of water will do it. You could use a vegetable stock if you have it, but it's not necessary. There's lots of flavor. Then you can add a little bit of salt, maybe about a half teaspoon or so to start with. And then you need some white pepper, freshly ground white pepper. Let's use white pepper for this because it has the right look. It'll disappear into the soup. And it also has the right flavor too. Now this needs to cook for, maybe 20 minutes or so until the asparagus is nice and tender. Please don't cover it because that will encourage it to turn yellow. So keep it uncovered so that it will stay as green as possible. So the total cooking time on this mixture now, again, about 20 minutes should do it. So at the end of that time, you want to check on the asparagus and just try to, mash a piece or two up against the side of your saucepan, see how tender it is. That looks pretty good. So then we want to set this aside and let it cool enough that we can handle it. And then you get to choose your tool for pureeing. I like using an immersion blender. I think it's easy and it's easy cleanup. But if you want to use a blender, by all means do a couple of batches, or a food processor. Whatever works best for you is fine. So get this pureed as smoothly as you can, and then we're going to have to also push it through a sieve. Now the sieve that I have here today is a little too fine for this soup. I'm getting a beautiful puree from it, but it's taking a few minutes longer than I had intended. So kind of a medium-sized, medium mesh sieve is a really good choice for this one. So just push that right through with your rubber spatula. You have to scrape on the spatula and push the mixture against the grating of the sieve. So just push that right through, and it will take it'll take you a few minutes, but it's not a big deal. Now the alternative to this would be to trim your asparagus really closely at the bottom so there's no white that goes into the soup, and then you might be able to get away without straining it at all, but better to strain it. When you're getting close to there on the straining, notice that I'm dipping the sieve down into the soup to wash some of that liquid back through there so that it will dissolve more and more of the puree. So it's good to put some of that back, and that'll help you to get all the best good stuff out of your mixture. So when you have everything worked through except for those very heavy fibers, then you're all set. Now when you take the sieve out, when you finish with your straining, be sure that you very carefully scrape the bottom of the sieve with your spatula, because there'll be a lot of good stuff there. So we want to now chill this mixture very well, and you can do this a day ahead of the time you need it, or anytime during the day ahead. it needs some heavy cream. Check your seasoning. You'll probably need a little more salt for sure. And then ladle the soup into your serving bowls. I chose for my garnish today some nice Greek yogurt. This is whole milk yogurt. And I have some cherry tomatoes and some chives. So that's my garnish today. So this is my cold leek and asparagus soup for warm weather. The recipe is at brucebeckinthekitchen.com. I hope you'll come and see me and check out the recipe. Make it. Let me know. Let me know how you like it. I always love to hear from you. So thanks for joining me today, and keep cool.